All right, welcome residents to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is producer Richard, and across from me is the doctor himself.
Hello.
Oh no, it's next to me. I messed it up.
You idiot.
Oh, fucking idiot. Each week we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners like you. And today we are joined once again by podcaster, actress, and comedian Lacretia Lyon.
Woo!
Welcome back.
Thank you guys for having me back. I'm always down to talk anything DC, even if it is Smallville.
Well, yeah, the last time we had you on, we talked about John Constantine. And then our conversation before we started recording here was about Jared and Jensen and Supernatural. And I think the theme here is that we don't have to be embarrassed about how thirsty we are when we have you as a guest on the show. We can feel like at home, just lusting after the hot guys of comics and TV.
Yeah, I really like having a home for that, because you'd be surprised how many girls don't want to talk about that. They want to be taken seriously as a comic book fan, and I'm just like, what's the point? I mean, they don't cast someone like Stephen Amell as Oliver Queen and think that we should care about like backstory that much.
Exactly. Give me more fish ladder.
Or Justin Hartley as Oliver Queen in Smallville. It's like, I love Justin from his soap days and Passions and The Young and the Restless. But, Young and the Restless was actually after he was Oliver Queen.
Was that true? Is that? Oh,
yeah.
Wow. I still quote Lacretia's comment about either you're a Dean girl or you're a lesbian. That's still my favorite thing I've ever heard in my life.
I mean, one would just assume.
So funny.
Yeah, I mean, I'm into the 14th season, and I agree.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, now you're beginning with the 14th, where you get him in that when he's Michael, and you get that beautiful outfit.
Oh yeah.
It was everything I wanted.
What a snack!
My God.
I know. One more thing about Jensen. Yeah. Jensen is in Smallville. This will segue nicely, but did you see his video about being Soldier Boy he put on Instagram on The Boys season 3?
So adorable. He's such an adorable man in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know. Me and my mom were like, why is he so perfect?
I don't know.
Why?
Have you listened to his music?
Yeah. I did own Christian Kane's country CD. Yeah.
Don't ruin this.
I love his performance of "I'm Too Sexy" in Supernatural.
Oh yeah. I love whichever season that is where he starts off and he's on his like bender with Crowley. Those
are some of my favorite moments.
That's some great Dean in there.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, all of this conversation is like exactly why I thought of Lacretia when I was like, we should do a Smallville episode.
Yeah.
And I even said this to you, which was like, I know how much you love soaps, and we talk about Supernatural, we talk about Constantine, all this kind of like stuff I feel is all sort of tangential to like something kind of melodramatic and soapy and kind of sexy. And I was like, do you want to talk Smallville?
Yeah. Oh, Smallville. I hate to admit this on this podcast, but I've not seen every episode of Smallville.
Neither have we.
Yeah, actually, neither have we.
Yeah. Yeah, because go ahead.
Well, no. When did you watch Smallville? Like when it was on, like as it was coming out, or did you like see it later?
A little bit of both, because I had a friend who really, really was into Smallville, but I was already that kind of nerd where I'm like, this is not any Superman story I've ever heard. Him and Lex Luthor being friends, whatever. I'm too cool for this. Then I see Lex Luthor, the Michael Rosenbaum Lex Luthor, and I'm like, okay, well, I like this part of it. I'll watch this with you, and you watch Buffy with me. Cool, we can do that. And I think it was probably middle school for me, and it was very much a middle school show, even though they were supposed to be in high school. They were just very immature. But they're, as much as I love the Luthors, there's so much bad in the show too.
Well, I mean, yes, absolutely. I mean, I think I had a friend who sort of got me hooked on it after it had already been on for a few years, but she had the DVD sets. And so I got the first 3 seasons, and all of my dad and I watched the first 3 seasons of Smallville like in a weekend. We like crushed this TV show. And then
what's great is they didn't make any more seasons after that.
Well, but basically I kind of stopped watching.
They really didn't. Yeah. So
I kind of stopped watching after that until like way, way, way later. And then I would go back and watch, part of a season or most of a season or something like that. But like at the time I was like, yeah, I think I'm good. I got what I needed out of this.
Yeah, I saw bits and pieces with that friend who really liked it, but I would never really watch it on my own because I didn't think it was that great. But then again, me and my mom watched it a few years ago when Tom Welling was on Lucifer. She was like, hey, maybe we should watch Smallville. And I interviewed him. So I'm like, okay, yeah, we should watch some Smallville. And the first 2 seasons, honestly, were fairly good. Season 3 gets a little rocky, and I had to force myself to finish season 4 before this podcast just for Jensen. And I knew we would just love Jensen. But yeah, outside of that, I've seen bits and pieces of Justin Hartley as Oliver Queen for obvious reasons. But Smallville, like it was not my favorite thing.
Yeah, I think that all relatively tracks. Season 4 is definitely where it jumped off. I mean, if you told me now, I would stop watching a show with Jensen Ackles in it and slap myself in the face. But
that's what I thought was so weird. It's like, wow, this is really bad, but he is killing it.
I was a child. Let me go back and try to this again.
No, it's the children who are wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. Now, like, did you, Richard? Did you watch Smallville like when it was on?
Oh yeah. Oh, it was a big one. It was I mean, when I remember seeing the previews for it and then like making a whole night about the premiere and like,
oh wow,
oh yeah, I was all about this.
Oh wow.
Yeah, well, for me, it was like I didn't get that.
Did you learn how to play "Somebody Save Me" like on the guitar?
Somebody save
It was that in California.
Oh yeah, the OC. I watched that one.
This was like right in my wheelhouse. I think for the time, I was a huge fan of Lois and Clark as a kid.
Right, like the Dean.
Oh yeah, that was cute.
Terry Hatcher. Yeah.
I love me some Terry Hatcher.
So good, and so I was like, oh. Finally, they're getting Smallville, and now it's like kids my age, like cool.
Yeah.
You were 100% the target demo,
without a doubt. Yeah. And good Lord, those first 2 seasons. Yeah, I mean, I was like every week on it, and I probably rewatched the first 3 seasons. I'd say 5 times.
Yeah. Well, especially because those first few seasons are so much that like
we're good.
School angst, like who's going to go to the dance, like that kind of shit.
It's like DC Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's like what I wanted.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I've always said, was that it was very much like Buffy in that it used supernatural elements, or in this case, like superhero elements, to display like what you're going through in high school. And that was a really smart thing to do, especially with the WB.
Yeah.
Genius.
Well, I mean, like Superman getting his powers is 100% like puberty allegory. It's the Spider-Man thing, but they were just like, what if it was Superman?
Yeah.
What if every time the show, I think the first time he uses his heat vision, it's about thinking sexy thoughts. It's like Katie like sees his teacher or something, and he like heat visions.
And he X-rays the girls' locker room. It's like, that's so funny and so relatable.
Clark, you X-rayed your bed again. You lasered your eyes, your bed again. Oh no,
Clark, how come all of your socks have burn holes in them?
Yeah, some of them are frozen. Either way, they're hard as a rock.
Good God.
That's what she said.
Yeah,
no, it was. I wanted to stay with this show so badly, and I was obsessed with those first 2 seasons. I could. There's nowhere to.
Yeah, they're very good.
Frustrating.
Yeah,
they're on Hulu.
We can't. We don't get.
I don't
Hulu.
think we get Hulu.
Yeah.
Really? Oh, that's horrible. I had no idea.
Things are
pretty tough up here.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, your country's better than our country in just about every other way, but you don't get Hulu? Oh.
You know what? The trade-off's worth it. I'm going to America.
Yeah.
Come on, Canada, get Hulu. Make Canada great again.
Yeah,
democracy died, but we got to watch Smallville.
Priorities.
What? It's just what I need. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was a big fan, big Tom Welling fan. I think that I love Michael Rosenbaum.
Yeah,
I mean,
big
he's
time.
so perfectly cast in that role. I mean,
they work well off each other. Like as a pair was really well.
Which is
cast.
weird because when you look at Tom Welling, like he doesn't look like what you would cast somebody as for Superman. Like if you were cast him now, like I don't think that he fits in that mold in my mind.
Right.
But he works so well as sort of like young Clark.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, that was me. I was like, Tom Welling really was a good cast for that Clark Kent and what they had for him. Mm-hmm. And Michael Rosenbaum and John Glover were just magnificent. And to me, they sort of elevated everybody else throughout the show. And that's why, like, even in season 4, where it starts to get weak, that transference episode with Clark and Lionel is so good because John Glover is just that good. And to be such a weak season, Jensen aside, it was like, whoa, this is probably one of the best episodes.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it was one of those things too where it was like, oh, is this a Chloe heavy episode? Do we need help getting through this? Let's put a Lionel scene in there, and then you would like.
Oh, Chloe was not the problem, man. Chloe was okay. Lana, man, especially in that season, I was just like, I don't think I've hated a fictional character more than Lana Lang ever. And I watch soaps, as we've said.
Yeah.
But, oh my God, the Lana Lang, like, someone was in love with Kristen Couric who did this show, and they really, really tried to make that character work, and it just didn't.
Yeah, I think they just were. Yeah, they were running out of things to even do with that character, and then eventually, like Lois came in, and they were like, "We have even less to do with Lana."
Well, and I really liked Erica Durance as Lois Lane because I'm not the biggest Lois Lane fan because she's kind of obnoxious. I enjoyed like the Terry Hatcher one, and even in like Margot Kidder's fine, but yeah, like just as a rule, you have like Lois Lane is kind of obnoxious, but I really liked Erica because I'm like, this is a Lois Lane I can root for. She is this, very much her own woman, and her little banter with Clark was really funny.
Yeah. Again, a really good sort of pairing casting.
But also like John Schneider.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
that Kent boy's got into trouble again.
So smart. That casting is so fucking smart. And then they bring the fucking car onto the show.
Yeah.
And
John Schneider was fun.
From the other Duke brothers is coming too. Oh my God.
And Annette O'Toole's really good too as Martha Kent.
Oh yeah.
I like her.
Yeah, John Schneider is like a linchpin in that show for sure.
Just that is what I think of when I think of Jonathan Kent. I mean, that's
Yeah, actually, I'll give you that. I will say in the way that I think of Kevin Conroy as Batman, Jonathan Kent is John Schneider.
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
That was what I really liked about the show is they did have a pretty good cast. And then you did see that they were the first to really acknowledge people who'd done DC stuff in the past, or like you say, having the other Duke brother on. They would nod to those things, which is what Berlanti has carried on the tradition of. I really like that. Like when you see Margot Kidder show up and Christopher Reeve was a part of it. And Annette O'Toole was Lana Lang. I mean. Yeah,
totally.
I love that. Well, we got a ton of questions.
Yeah, we got so many questions.
It's almost like people have a lot of feelings about this show.
Somebody save me. We got so many questions.
Oh, it's never mind. Actually, we don't have any questions. The episode's over.
What happened?
I don't know.
What?
Yes. So obviously we're talking about Smallville. Let's get into Facebook.
Let's do it. Go to the face and the book. Go to the Facebook. Wait. Sorry. Hang on. I've got a special one. Say we're going to Facebook.
We're going to Facebook.
Somebody face.
Oh no.
Save me.
Oh no.
Let your warm hands break right through. Like that was it, right?
Yeah, thank you.
I did enjoy that theme song.
This is gonna be the rest of this episode.
Yeah, it is now.
This is fine. It's normal.
It's normal. Okay, let's go to the first question. Comes from Braden Ketty, who asks, is there anything you guys would want to ask Michael Rosenbaum? I'm a patron of his podcast, and he does a Q&A things every month.
This is the strangest. Yeah. It's like not our opinions of things. Yeah. It's like it's like a friend of a friend question. Let's say we've all talked about how much we like Michael Rosenbaum as Lex. If you got a chance to talk to him and yet got to ask him something about his time on Smallville, what would you ask him?
How hard was it to try to play off of the actress who did Lana Lang?
Kristen.
To try to pretend feigned interest in her.
Oh, funny.
Good God.
Yeah, that's my answer.
I guess I would ask if he was disappointed he didn't get to wear the armor suit.
Ooh.
Yeah, that would be cool. Like, I've talked to Michael, but it wasn't about Smallville.
Yeah. Lots of people, by the end of the show, we'd seen actual superheroes, even though they were boy with Superman for it. Yeah. Lots of people we had full Hawkman or Booster Gold or whatever.
Yeah.
I wonder if he was like maybe a little miffed that he just had to keep walking around in a dark suit.
I do. I wonder.
Yeah. Lacretia, what would you ask Michael Rosenbaum about his time on Smallville?
Yeah, I've talked to Michael, but it wasn't about Smallville. So, like, I guess to me, it is one of those, like, how hard was it sometimes? Because it's the same thing. The reason these people work so well with soaps and the comic book stuff is it is silly. Yeah. And it's like, how did you prepare just to be so serious sometimes? But some of this stuff, I mean, and he's even said it himself, was dumb as fuck. I mean,
yeah.
Can I cuss on here?
Yes. Oh, yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, that's that gravitas thing that we were talking about with him and with John Glover or whatever. You need someone to say something about like a crystal's energy is penetrating the ionosphere. You have to say it as if it is something not stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true.
That's fair.
It's always with TNG. Always makes me laugh. Like
it's exactly the Star Trek thing. Yeah.
Totally. The best actors.
So much. It's so funny. All right. Let's leave Facebook and head on over to Twitter.
Somebody tweet.
It really works less. It works less. No, it works less.
I think it was good.
Yeah.
Fine.
I like it.
No, it's not, though. The first question comes from our favorite spacey, sexy texter.
Oh, Cosmic DM.
Sliding in a rock ship all the way to those DMs.
Wow.
Who asks, what do you think has been more influential in spreading DC stuff to non-comic book people? Smallville, the 60s Batman show, or the animated Justice League show?
Oh, interesting.
Ooh.
Yeah.
In terms of, I mean, the 60s Batman show probably has the widest reach because it's been in syndication and reruns, and just everyone knows it, even if you don't pay attention to it or you couldn't name anything about it. You've seen it and you know that it's like the Bow Pam kind of thing, right?
For sure.
What do you think, Lacretia? Do you think maybe an animated show or the 60s Batman or Smallville, like if we talk about converting people from watching something on TV to maybe being interested in seeing a Superman movie or reading a Superman comic or something like that, which of those things do you think would have had the biggest impact?
Well, they all sort of had a different age range to hit. Because while I may have enjoyed the 60s Batman and stuff as a kid, it was because my dad was already a fan. But most people sort of come to that at a later age. Meanwhile, Smallville is more like the teen age and stuff like that. But with Justice League Animated, that's kids. And those are, they say, get them while they're young and they'll be a fan for life. And, I know I probably wouldn't be that big of a fan if it wasn't for stuff like Batman, the animated series, and the Spider-Man cartoon series and the X-Men cartoon series that were on when I was a kid. Those really solidified it for me. And the Justice League, that's what made me watch that, because that was a little bit after. And, it's pretty cool to, Michael Rosenbaum was a voice actor in that. He was the Flash. and to like see these people go on and do other things sort of gives you that bit of nostalgia, even if you were a little bit older coming into that. So I would think the people that maybe went into the Justice League animated series as a kid are your big time fans now. So I would probably say that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you're right that it's got like stages, right? Like I think, watching those cartoons, and then you go, oh, they're making a young Superman show. You go like, I remember Superman, and then you check it out, or like you, Richard, said you liked Lois and Clark, and then they were like, well, here's a young Superman. It's like everything like builds on each thing. I will say, for my group of friends in high school, I was the one that actually knew something about the characters because I read comics, and then all my group of friends was almost entirely female, and they were like, oh, Tom Welling, and then I'd be like, yeah, but did you see that kryptonite actually fun fact about red kryptonite, and they'd go, shut up.
Oh, I thought you would just go, guys. I think it's interesting because I think by default the 60s Batman has to win because it's during a time where there's just less entertainment, there's more people watching TV, and their comics are a bigger thing, right? So it's an easier thing, and it's been around for so long, it's an easier sort of transition. I think the animated show is probably the closest to actual comic books with the stuff that's in it. So if you're interested in it, and it sort of cranks up the sort of like the comic booky stuff that's within it. So it's an easier sort of transition. So I think the people who do transition from the TV show onto comic books it's probably an easier transition for sure. But I would say that like I would doubt that a lot of people watch Smallville and read comic books because it's so not like the comics at all.
Well, and then maybe that is kind of off both of your points there. Like maybe then Smallville was tapping into sort of an untapped resource, that sort of WB, soon to be the CW crowd, the people that would watch the OC, the people that will watch Grey's Anatomy, the people that probably don't think that like a punch 'em up superhero fits that sort of like melodrama-y kind of mold. You're probably getting them in a way that you never would have with a different show.
I think Smallville can exist because of the zeitgeistness of Superman. I think that you're able to sort of go, well, everybody knows Superman. So, and they know like enough of the pieces that you can give them where he's from. People get the story. So it's easy to.
Well, there's a reason it's not a young Hawkman show.
But it is interesting how quickly they dive into, and I mean, it's a Gotham thing, right? It's how quickly they go on its own premise because they're just like, I don't know what to do.
Well, that was that no tights, no flights sort of rule that they had, that they were like, well, maybe it's fun if there are, though.
Yeah, and I think that for me, in my personal opinion was its ultimate failing.
Right.
And it was just my same issue with Gotham, which is just like you jump so quickly into this thing that it's like, look, there are things out there that exist that are already doing this and can do it way better because of the budget they have, like the platform that they're on. I think the problem with this is that they're trying to do so much with such limited like resources and budget. It's like you're never going to be able to get the Superman show that you're trying to be. So let it be the like melodramatic small town thing. But it's like I feel like they just ran out of ideas so quickly, and they also just like jumped the shark so quickly too. They were just like, and then he found all this stuff from his parents, and it's like, well, like okay, well, where the fuck do you go now?
Well, they also ran up against like, well, it's been 4 seasons. Has he graduated high school? And then they were like,
like, 2 years though.
Yeah.
Season 3 is when he gets to Metropolis.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
is
it is.
No, in 4 he's still in high school. I think.
He's still in high school in 4 because
Jared, Jensen is the coach that's banging a student.
Oh,
Jensen's a coach. He gets fired for like hooking up with Lana.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Fuck, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
because I knew that he ends up in Metropolis, but that's just from that. Oh God, I hate the. Whole fucking red kryptonite intro to season 3. I can't stand it, but because he just can't play bad.
No, he's not going to play.
It's like McGuire, like he just can't.
Dude, Spider-Man 3 is great if you view it as a comedy, like, but only then.
Right? Greatest comedy of our time.
So good. Oh yeah, like Franco with the pie. That is legendary in my house.
It's what I think.
So good
that it's a challenge. It's why Tom Welling plays like younger Clark so well, but I don't think he plays Superman that well. It's because he really has that aw shucks thing, but he doesn't have the sort of
the weight of
gravitas.
responsibility.
I think like with like a current Superman, where he can play both sides.
Yeah.
You believe that he's sort of that clean cut guy, but he's also got this sort of hard edge.
Oh, the Tyler Hoechlin, the one playing him.
No,
Tyler Hoechlin's pretty good.
Cavill.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, Cavill.
Cavill does such a good job. When he goes bad, it's like it's believable, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I think that's my issue with. But anyways, let's go to the next question.
Let's do it.
Next question comes from EC. It's so easy.
So easy.
Who asks, which DC characters would you like to have liked to see on Smallville if the series continued, i.e. Batman, Crypto, Static, Bumblebee, Nord? Yeah, the top
five. Those people.
I mean, the show by the end hit a lot of big characters, but are there ones that you were like, God, I wish, even if they maybe showed up once or twice, are there ones that you wish had a bigger part on the show or that you didn't see?
Yeah, for me, it was one of those things that I was surprised to see how many characters they sort of hit. Just similar with like Arrow and certain things, they would hit them, but it would be so like subtle that you weren't always like, oh yeah, until the end in some of the early seasons. And I liked that a little better. But like when they just really dove into it, when they had almost like their own Justice League with like Oliver Queen and you started seeing Zatanna show up, it was interesting to see who was in it and not per se. But yeah, like Green Lantern, I don't believe there was ever any mention of. And that would have been fun to me.
Yeah, Green Lantern would have been
like
cool.
A Hal Jordan. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would have been a good one to have in there. I mean, the interesting thing, obviously it was that thing where they were like, we're making movies of some things, you can't use them on your TV show like that.
Yeah.
That's the shit that DC always does. But Batman and Wonder Woman did show up later. They made they called it Smallville season 11. They made a comic series that continued from where the show left off. And you do eventually meet like the Amazons and Batman and stuff like that. God, who would I want to see? I don't think Lobo was on Smallville, was he?
No.
I don't think so. Lobo is a character that I've always wanted. Oh,
Lobo would have been fun. Just like that he's finally, he settles in. People are buying the Clark Kent thing. He's like working at the Daily Planet. And then this space biker shows up and he's just like, no, I know it's you. Just take the glasses off. He's just like, he kind of blows up his spot. Like,
that would be really fun.
I think that would be fun.
Danny McBride as Lobo is one of the few things that I just think should happen no matter what.
Oh, holy shit. That's actually funny. I really like it.
I'm like, that's what it's like my Kevin Bacon Carnage that I just eventually had to give up on. But I feel like Danny McBride Lobo could actually happen.
Shit, I love both of those.
Yeah.
Kevin Bacon Carnage is too much.
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing. Oh my God.
What about you?
I kind of would love to see just like where Clark like goes to see Lex like at the house and he's just like, oh, I'm just hold on, I have to deal with a personal thing. I'm transporting some stuff to Gotham, and you just see like Alfred there like pick up some stuff.
You don't even want Batman.
No,
you just
no.
want to see
Alfred. You want Alfred. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But that sexy Alfred from Gotham, right?
Oh yeah. That's Sean Pertwee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, Master Luthor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would be.
That's fun. That's a fun way to dodge the like you can't use bats kind of thing.
Well, yeah, right. Like his technically, like I don't know their age difference. I'm never quite sure about sort of how old he would be, but
right.
But I think at that age,
generally soups of bats are meant to be pretty close. Maybe only off by a couple. Because
you could just be like, like the house has been so empty lately, like. I'm just gonna pick some stuff up, because you can do that whole thing, right? Like,
I like that because that's fun.
Because Bruce has been out training, and I think that would be cool. Because that's a good way to sort of go like, you can't have Batman. He's been training at this age, right?
I have to fly Master Bruce to fucking Kilimanjaro or wherever he's going.
Can I pull your plane
to the Himalayas? We're taking him to the Himalayas. He's gonna go up Everest. There's a guy named Raish up there.
What's fun too is that you can sort of play off the whole thing where Lex is just like, oh god, Bruce Wayne, like, god, that not-nosed kid, like,
yeah, that's true too. That's kind of a fun idea. Yeah,
I think that's such an interesting thing, right? Because it's like you bring up the two sort of rich kids. Yeah. Like, I don't need to see Bruce, but just sort of like I would love to know what Lex thinks of Bruce around that age. Right. There's no way that they don't know of each other.
Right. There's presumably some sort of like trust fund daycare thing. Like they probably have crossed paths.
Oh my god! Now I just want
all rich people know each other. They're like DC Canadians.
Baby. We just pitch Muppet Babies as superheroes.
Yeah. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
Oh, the JL8. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
that's really funny. All right. Why don't we go to the next question?
All right.
Coming from Braydon. Man, I'm not going to do it.
Wow.
Braydon and Tibby?
Pardon me?
I said Radon and Tibby?
Oh.
It was a dumb joke.
Braydon, who asks, how did you feel about the Smallville epilogue during Crisis on Infinite Earths?
Yeah, did you watch the Crisis crossover, Lacretia?
Oh yeah, and it was funny. The first episode made me so mad, and then it finally, like, the last couple were great, and that's why it is sad because I really enjoyed John Cryer as Lex Luthor, but Supergirl I like quit watching because it had gotten just so, like, in my opinion, bad, like, and just not, because to me that show died when Terry Hatcher died on there. She was so great as a villain, and yeah, like, they just never were the same without Callista Flockhart. But it's one of those things that the epilogue for Smallville that was in the better parts of Crisis was great. I enjoyed seeing Superman and Lois, but I guess he's Clark Kent, as Tom prefers to be called. But yeah, it was nice to see them because, you know, Erica is Supergirl's mom. So, but yeah, I thought it was cute. It would have been nice to see Michael, which he was offered, but it was like, who knows what they would have done.
Yeah. I mean, your complaint about it was that we didn't see Tom Welling as Superman. You didn't like that he had given up his powers, that we just got a Clark thing there.
No. That was my one sort of issue with that, was I'm just like, it was very much like he bombed in for a day, and I'm like, what do you got going on, Tom Welling?
Yeah.
Come on. Like, give some more. I didn't watch the rest of your shitty, like, the rest of those fucking seasons. Like, give me something.
Right.
Now's your chance to finally get me to see you in the suit, and I don't get it.
Well, I mean, there's certainly, I could see that as a sort of frustration because he spends 10 seasons basically only as Clark.
Yeah.
He puts on the suit at the end of season 10, and then when he comes back in the epilogue, he's not Superman.
And I'm like, God damn it. Like,
yep.
That's,
yeah, I guess if you'd watched, like, a significant amount of that and we're really looking forward to it, I was just like, hey, what are they going to do? They put so many things. I mean, we got Constantine and Lucifer in a scene together.
Yeah.
So, like, I will say overall Crisis, and to see stuff like Swamp Thing, Birds of Prey, like things that I had watched and enjoyed that were short-lived, show up was fun. I mean, overall, it had a lot of hype that it didn't necessarily live up to in some ways. But then, I mean, you see Burt Ward, like, they tried their best to really hit on every little thing that they could.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like the nerd who's like, yeah, but they didn't like, I know I should just, I get what I get and I don't get upset. Like, I get it, but it wouldn't have taken him much more.
But then he would have killed him.
I think that I liked seeing him back on a farm. Like, I liked...
You're so easy to impress.
But I liked that sort of, like, it's the Clark thing. It was like everything he learned from John Schneider. He's like an upright, like, upstanding, like, good dad, and
just, like, a good
old
doesn't
boy. Back down to Lex. Even though Lex
never made it no
power. He still punches Lex in the face. You know, he's just, I don't know. I kind of liked that. It's so sweet.
You're so easy to please.
Yeah, Smallville. Yeah.
Oh, that was good. Oh, hell yeah. That was amazing. All right, let's go to the next question.
All right.
From Mosaic Comics, they ask, would the series have been better if they had been able to use Bruce Wayne like they wanted instead of having to use Oliver Queen, which I didn't know. I didn't know that they had intended to use Bruce Wayne.
Well, the whole show was initially intended to be like Gotham. And then they last minute switched it to Superman because of the Nolan movies, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
I had no idea. I mean, it turned into Gotham regardless, so I guess it's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I like taking it so that's not about the performance of like Justin Hartley or anything like that.
Yeah.
I actually think it was like maybe one of the better things to happen to Smallville was not getting to use
I agree.
a Batman. Now,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, Superman and Batman, iconic relationship. Would I have wanted to see that on TV? You bet your ass I would. But it did kind of force them to be like, but who can we use? And maybe that's why they managed to get so many other characters through the show.
Yeah.
If they got bats, maybe they'd be like, this is enough. And they just stop introducing, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I agree. I think it made them more creative to use Oliver Queen. And I like to think that Oliver Queen being used on there and being a likable character, and even though the failed Aquaman pilot with Justin didn't happen, probably thankful for all of us, including him. But yeah, you had that relationship with Oliver and Chloe that, as an Olicity fan, I almost feel was the precursor for that. Would we have gotten that? Would we have gotten Arrow without Oliver Queen on here?
That's interesting.
I don't know.
definitely
Probably not.
There's no way that they're going to be like, which character can we make a Batman-esque TV show about? And they would have been like Green Arrow if he wasn't on Smallville. There's no way.
Yeah, and
we might have been watching The Question on CW. We might
the Question verse.
The Question verse.
Yeah. It just doesn't flow.
I'm glad that Lacretia brought it up too, which is the Aquaman thing. Like, I like thank God they didn't like Aquaman Bruce Wayne, like, because good Lord, that version of Aquaman, it reminds me of the version that they sort of make fun of on The Boys,
the Alan Richson.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the sweatshirt brigade of heroes that they had for a bit there. They had Bart Allen, Flash. They had that Aquaman. Their version of Cyborg was just a guy in a sweatshirt. The sweatshirt was meant to be machines.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's really fun.
Yeah, I think I agree with Lacretia. I think it made them more creative. I mean, it would have been dope as hell to watch like Young World's Finest, but that should be its own show. Go in with that.
Yeah.
For what they were doing with Smallville, I think it was more fun to have Oliver in there.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. All right, let's go for the next question.
Let's do it.
Comes from MadSeb77, who asks, did you enjoy the first 5 years of Smallville for what they tried to do? Did you prefer the last 5 years because they went full DC lore as much as they could? Who could have played Hal Jordan in the pre-Arrowverse?
Okay.
So first question.
Let's separate the thing that we've already talked about a bit, which is that they sort of abandoned their premise, which was no text, no flights. Let's treat the two halves of the show like separate shows. Yeah. Which version do you prefer? The Smallville kind of like secret adventures, not Superman, or this is the beginnings of a Justice League and that era, like an Age of Heroes kind of thing? What do you prefer, Lacretia?
Well, obviously, I prefer the first 2 seasons.
Hell yeah.
And then the rest of the show is just like, like, there are bits and pieces, but I will applaud it for what it was trying to do. And it did spawn the Arrowverse.
Yes.
And so, like, while I may not have enjoyed the last 5 seasons, there are bits and pieces that I can diplomatically say is what led to better stuff. And I think it was necessary.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then that sort of third question in there, which is like directly.
Oh, Scott Foley. Like, I was like, the Hal Jordan question. I'll just jump in. Scott Foley. Scott Foley.
Yeah,
wow.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've got one in there. I mean, before we recorded, I said that Jensen could be a Green Lantern.
Oh yeah, he would have made a good Green Lantern, and so would have Nathan Fillion.
Yeah. Of course,
I would have wanted that, but at this point, only if we get like a buddy cop movie with he as old Green Lantern Hal Jordan, and then Damon Wayans Jr. as young John Stewart. Like that would be acceptable. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could get on board with that.
But yeah, only if it was like Ragnarok ridiculous.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Richard. The two different shows of Smallville that are under the Smallville umbrella.
I mean, this is not a question. It's obviously the first two, but
right.
I think an interesting question though is that if they were to make it today, which version would you rather they make?
I think we've seen enough versions of let's try and do this pre-history thing, kind of abandon the premise or fail or whatever, to know that like we just don't dance around it. Even Arrow, which from the get-go was about the vigilante. It wasn't like these are all of the Queen's College years or whatever. It was like it was about the vigilante, but they tiptoe around it. It was like, no, there's no powers. Count Vertigo's just a drug dealer. And then they got to the second season, they were like, fuck it, super steroids, Deathstroke, introduce the Flash. Like even Arrow thing too. So I think if you were making the show today, just fucking make Clark shows up in Metropolis and it's the beginnings of Superman. Just make it what it is. Don't like have to be like, we're going to go 5 seasons and then you'll see the cape. Like no unrealistic goals. Just make the fucking superhero show, right?
Yeah, I really like what Arrow tried to do, and they kind of continued with that, because even if something like the Flash and things like that were so far up the realm, that was more like a one and done thing, and you had Dig as the audience sort of like, this is weird, because Arrow tried to be the Nolan version, the very grounded, and I really liked that, and I liked that even though everything else is the Arrowverse, and obviously the Flash is in the same Earth, now they all are, but it kept trying to be that in a way, and it worked. So you kind of have to have some sort of Batman, some sort of Green Arrow character that is the grounded one in keeping with that. But when the show sort of expanded to more universes, I liked that we had the choice rather than Smallville, which it's hard to do that with Superman. And I saw that being their crux, because initially they did want it to be Batman and that they wanted to keep it as grounded as possible, but it was hard. So they just were like, fuck it.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right about Arrow. I mean, Arrow's worst season is probably season 4, which was when it was all about magic. It like got 100% away from things like
we got Damien Dark
or
and John Constantine.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh, Constantine. Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, Damien Dark's still one of my all-time faves, even though he worked much better on Legends. But,
I mean, Neil McDonough, great actor.
I know. Oh.
That was a great character, but it just didn't work in Arrow.
No, it didn't work in the Arrowverse. Yeah.
Yeah.
The more I think about it, the more I'm like, well, you can't. I mean, you're not going to be. Maybe in like 20 years from now, 10 years from now, you'll get an actual Superman show. But I think there's no way you could get a Superman show now, especially with Supergirl. They would have to have done Superman instead of Supergirl.
Well, Superman and Lois are getting their spin-off.
Yeah, they're doing a show.
I hope it's good, but I don't care.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be watching as much. Here or there.
Exactly. What I would watch though is if they did a Superman Kingdom Come series.
Right.
What I would love to see is
the opposite. So instead of young, go old.
Go old. Give me like
always go old. I'm tired of origin stories.
I think this gives you an opportunity to be able to bring in a bunch of new heroes because you're dealing with that sort of Kingdom Come universe, and have him be sort of the guy who has to get brought out from retirement.
Right.
So he's the sort of mentor to a lot of these new heroes, and you're dealing with all the sort of issues from Kingdom Come, and sort of this season is really about them sort of building up to this like huge battle, I think.
Right.
And so that way you get to bring in a bunch of like random heroes too. You can
like, make up your new ones because it's the young generation.
Exactly. And like bring some of the old ones who are maybe less known. Like you can be a little bit more broad with the characters because it's so far in the future. You get sort of like this futurism, sort of like this future world, but still being sort of near future. So it's still interesting, and you can still use character, because the problem with Krypton is like you get this futuristic world, but you're not being able to deal with any of the characters. You have a small group of characters that can possibly be in this time, in this place. But with Kingdom Come, it's like you're not that far in the future, so it's like you get to sort of touch so much of what is like future DC and current DC, and you also get the sort of time travelers. Like but you don't have to go with sort of any of the big ones. And you get Superman being Superman occasionally, and you sort of build up to him like finally being in action at the end.
Right.
And you can get multiple seasons out of this, and you can also build in these new sort of characters that you give a shit about. And sort of, I think that's the version of Superman that I would want to see at this point, because I don't need to like. I didn't even really like it that much when Supergirl was doing it, and it's nothing to do with her. It's more of just like. My issue with Superman from the beginning, which is just like when you finally get to the point where it's like, okay, here's a guy that can do everything. I'm like, I don't really care about seeing somebody who can do everything.
I think what
I feel the same way. Oh yeah.
I think what a lot of these shows haven't cracked is what the comics do better, which is that Superman's big adversaries know how to like. They try to challenge his like morality. They try to they put him in the impossible position and then he pulls it off, right? And the shows never quite get that. The show always kind of goes to like, oh, are you strong enough? Do you have enough powers? But they never quite crack through to like the he'll win because like his heart is better. Like they never quite figure it out the way that like the Christopher Reeve movies do, or the way that like the comics do. Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah, I agree. The first couple seasons of Supergirl were probably some of the best Superman stories we'd even seen in a while, the way that they dealt with it. And it was more about her morality. But when she sort of became, like Miss Woke, it sort of really took away from the show, and it became a little less likable when it was like, no, she really always did win because she was the moral superiority. And that's what I kind of worry about with Lois and Clark that they're doing here. Sorry to call it. I guess they're switching around Superman and Lois. But it's one of those things that I'm not really looking forward to it, because while I think they're both well cast, I think Tyler Hoechlin is a great Superman. And Bitsy Tulik is surprisingly a pretty good Lois Lane there. And I'm like, they work. But that's not a show I really want to see, because it's not. It would be kind of cute and cheeky, like Lois and Clark, I'm thinking. But why do we need that? Like, to me, with Arrow ending, and to me for like the Flash and Supergirl, I'm not really interested in tuning in this new season. Legends is about the only one I care about. It's like, are we just trying to shoehorn some new stuff in just to keep this going when it's kind of going away, when if they just step back like they did with in between Smallville and Arrow to kind of come up with the next thing instead of just throwing something at it.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know how you can sell me on this Superman and Lois show is make it a road trip show. It's them going planet to planet. And age the kids up, which I think they're already doing anyways, but age the kids up a little bit so that they can actually like participate. And it's them trying to like the dad's like Superman's trying to not be Superman. He's trying to be a dad. And the kids are slowly sort of figuring out what's like his whole past and where they come from, and trying to get more information as they get sort of older enough to realize it. But every episode's sort of like a new planet. There's like people who are like Brainiac, and people who are trying to like on their sort of tail, trying to figure out where they are. And Lois and Clark are just trying to like make this sort of like life for them, and they keep going sort of planet to planet to figure out sort of how to make that sort of the life that they wanted.
I kind of dig that.
That's would sell me.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
Anyways, let's go to the next question.
All right.
From Chris Chan, our favorite religious representative, who asks, has it influenced the modern superhero TV shows? Not just the CW ones, but the Netflix, Marvel, etc. If so, how? It's an interesting question.
I mean, you got to assume it's had some influence, even if the people creating the later things were
don't want to do that.
We cannot make Smallville.
Yeah.
It's sort of like parenting. It's like, you either learn from your parents' good examples or the bad ones on what not to do. And that's sort of Smallville, like the bringing people in, like they did then, and Berlanti does with his universe, like Helen Slater is, and Supergirl, just like they did with Margot Kidder and Christopher Reeve. That I really love. And I do feel like that was well received with Smallville, so they sort of kept doing it. And that's kind of what we like, is little Easter eggs like that. But yeah, like, and I feel like Gotham wouldn't have happened if Smallville didn't do well. They were probably like, oh, good, we can finally do this, right?
Yeah, they're like, oh, I know what the problem was. It was Superman. Let's just remake the exact same show, but use Batman.
I mean, it's a good point, though, that like the prehistory kind of thing. And but I mean, there's only so many characters you could do that with. Like, you couldn't even do that with Wonder Woman if you wanted to, because there's no crime. She just lives on the island.
That's true.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that I liked about Gotham is they sort of realized what, like, to me, it almost felt like it was going to be a detective show with Jim Gordon and Bullock, who I loved, and they were like, no, but people were really liking this Penguin. What can we do? And they just really doubled down on like the villains, and I really do appreciate Gotham. I actually enjoyed it, and I liked what they did and
even
how
the later
they did
seasons,
it.
Really?
I honestly haven't seen the last one, but yeah, like I will say what I watched was pretty good. I mean, it was because it was its own thing and it didn't give a fuck. We even had a phrase on the after show. It's Gotham. Like,
I think Gotham just burned me a bit because to borrow a phrase you use, I felt like I was given a false bill of goods. Like that first season was the detective cop show, and I was like, I kind of dig like I was like cool. It would be like Gotham Central, like those comics. I'm just gonna follow the cops.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And then and then because it was trying to morph into the other thing, I was like, but this doesn't work. Where's Batman? Whereas if the show went in and said, listen, Batman is out there in Gotham and there are supervillains, but the show is focused on Gordon and Bullock, then I would have been like, okay, I get it.
I know what you're going to do.
Like, we're going to get some crossover of these things. They're going to be working cases that involve supervillains, but it's going to be a cop show. But because it was like, there is no Batman, here's a cop show. And then they were like, do you know what? Screw it. Here's Mr. Freeze. Yeah. And I was like, I don't really like this.
I think that was my sort of big issue was that I was the same way I was with Smallville.
It should have been more cop show.
Yes. I was the exact same way with Gotham as I was with Smallville.
I think that's a fair reaction for Smallville too.
I was on the websites. I was watching all of the YouTube stuff. I watched all the making of stuff before the show came out. Like, I was so stoked. I watched all these like featurettes that were on the WB website about sort of like how much detail they're putting into all these sets and everything. Like, I was so into it.
God, you were like,
look, I don't do anything half-assed. You should know that by now.
Yeah.
I got in and I was like, oh yeah, I love this idea. And then I was like, I hate Fish Mooney. That's fine. I love this Penguin. I'm like, I'm into this. Ooh, I like the guy. I'm like, super into that.
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah, great. Oh, loved it. And then they were like, oh, you know Barbara Gordon, and I'm like, yeah, they're great. They're great together. And it was just like, she's crazy. I'm like, what? Huh? Wait, okay, it's fine. Let's just keep going. And then it was just like, now all of the heroes are coming, and I'm like, wait, whoa.
Yeah.
I felt hard done by it.
Yeah.
And I think had I gone to it knowing what it would have been, I wonder if I go back, if I could rewatch it. I haven't tried. I tried a while ago, but I need to just like make it as part of
this.
My
this is the enduring influence of Smallville, though, is people attempting like a really drawn out origin story instead of like, first 3 episodes and then there's Batman, or like something like that, or it's like, this is the first year of this thing, being like, but what happened a decade beforehand? Be like that's the enduring legacy of Smallville, is people like, we got that fucking Pennyworth show, we got like I mean, Krypton, which I actually love. Krypton's a fucking great
Krypton's a good show, like,
but it still comes from that place. Like,
it's because I wonder if that's network sort of pushing, being like, you're gonna get 10 seasons out of this, so like,
maybe
you're the next Supernatural, so get ready. And it's like, well, no, you just started when like Batman's like about to start in a couple of years.
But like, imagine if you're like, oh great, there's a new series coming and it's about these kids in an elementary school and they find a puppy in the gutter and they start raising him, and in 10 years time they'll be Mystery Incorporated, and it's like like, Jesus Christ, get there.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm sorry, but I was pitching Scooby-Doo Puppy Edition to
I was wondering if that's what
Cartoon Network. I was like, way to just rip that out there and shit on my point. God, like, but yeah, I will say Gotham was one of those that they did listen to people. Because the thing about Barbara, when you mentioned it, I was like, I remember being like, okay, who the hell is Barbara? She's bisexual, which is cool with the question, Renee Montoya. You're like, oh, I like this non. But it's also like, it doesn't fit what's going on.
No,
and then she kills her parents and is crazy. And I'm like, okay, cool. I can get behind this Barbara. Like, I don't know how Batgirl's going to happen with this Barbara and this Gordon, but he seems to like crazy. And when Marina came in, is Dr. Lee.
Yeah. She was great.
I kept buying into crazy. Yeah. Like I've been there. Like,
yeah.
I think for my issue was I was like, I too much like, was like, well, no, they have this sweet relationship. Like, I don't want that to change. And I think maybe that's the problem that we went to. And I was like, maybe I didn't know enough about the character, or
I do feel like the obsession. I mean, this is in movies too, though. I think if there's going to be any influence that a Smallville or a Batman Begins or things like that have, it's this obsession with, we must see how it started. Like, the 89 Keaton,
I much prefer the end.
Just out there, and he's just fighting crime, and then you get the flashback to his parents dying, but you don't need to see him be like, "Oh, this is why I put ears on the suit" or whatever. Yeah. But all those fucking Marvel shows, it's like, oh, we got to spend a whole season of like Matt Murdock just wearing a compression shirt and a bandana, and then we finally get a suit, like. It's that thing of like needing to see where everything comes from is like, that's the legacy of some of these things that I hate. Like, can we not just drop in?
Oh, yeah.
I'm Solo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's why I like Black Lightning and how it sort of just came in, at a different point. And I was like, okay, good. Because I'm so sick of origin stories, especially when it comes to Superman, Batman, Spider-Man. I mean, we all know that. Even if you don't even know who those people are, you know damn well what happened, like, and how they became that. And that's why I was pissed about Pattinson being Batman, because I'm like, I don't want a Batman my age. I want an old, angry Batman.
Oh, yeah. That's, totally. Yeah, I think we covered that.
Give me my Army Hammer. God damn it.
Yeah. Oh.
If only.
He would be a good Hal Jordan.
Ooh, yeah.
You know who I think would be a great old Hal Jordan? Like old, like past, just like
Mark Harmon.
Not anymore.
Not quite that.
Yeah.
Don Johnson.
Dirk is dead.
Oh.
Don Johnson, retired Green Lantern.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Does he retire to Miami?
Yeah, well, like he's got that kind of like cowboy kind of thing. Like you could see him being like, I still ring sling once in a while, and he tries to do it. And he's like, I can't get my will up, and he's like,
there's pills for that.
Yeah.
Do geriatric Justice League. We'll have the Flash as Burt Reynolds.
Yeah. The Justice Hospice.
Yeah. Oh no.
Oh yeah. Well, on SpongeBob they had
it's the Hospice League.
Oh, there you go. There it is.
Yeah. I feel like that really hit it. But yeah, on SpongeBob they had those jokes because wasn't it?
That's right.
God, yeah.
Oh God.
An earliest bird in poopiest pants. All right. Next question. Ryan Putney asks, one thing that really disappointed me was how Darkseid was the villain for the final season and was defeated so easily. How would you have ended the series? Kill Superman. End credit.
That's what I would do.
I mean, why not? Could you imagine? He just puts the suit on for the first time and then just gets murdered.
I mean, I would love that.
Yeah, Doomsday just right through his freaking chest. Like,
so
that would be an ending I would enjoy.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, Darkseid was the villain for that whole season, but it was a thing where he was like in a spirit form. He had to like manifest. Ugh. And he ultimately... Okay, there's a thing I like about it, and I think I hate about it. The thing I hate about it is that the actual final battle is nothing at all. The thing I liked about it was that the way he manifests is Lionel Luthor trades his soul to bring Lex back from the dead, and then Darkseid possesses Lionel. And so instead, like Lex and Clark have a scene in that final episode, but the final fight is Clark and Lionel is such like the original main villain of the show that there's something kind of nice about that. It closes the loop, but you've set up Lex because now Lex will be Superman's enemy, but Lionel was Clark's.
Yeah,
like,
it's true.
There's something I loved about that, but the actual fight is Darkseid as Lionel shows up and says like "Roar, roar, roar," or whatever. Clark has flashes back. It's like a clip show of 10 seasons, and then he just flies at him, and Darkseid like evaporates. That's it.
Wow, really?
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a horrible fight, but I kind of liked getting Lionel in there.
Yeah.
There's like, it's not.
Yeah.
There's a good idea buried in there, I think.
Yeah, it has potential, you know. But yeah, it is one of those.
Like,
yeah.
If you're doing the real, like, this is Superman's beginnings, you can't jump all the way to Darkseid because then it's just like, well, and then everything was fine after that. But
I mean, sometimes, even in the comics, sometimes they use Darkseid as like the inciting incident for like the age of heroes. So I could see the argument for like, we need to transition him from, he's been operating as a superhero secretly for 9 years now. Like, fine.
Yeah.
What is going to make him public? I could see the argument for like something like Darkseid. It's too big to ignore. He has to step into the public eye. But you're right, which is in that like that's how he starts his career.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like, well, because it's like you already did Todd. You already did like it's like. I mean, it would be. I guess it would be anticlimactic if it was like not like a huge villain, but
Toy Man.
Yeah. I feel like it should have. It should have been Lex, and they just sort of like get to the point where they can't finish the fight, and they have to sort of go like they have to go. I guess we're not gonna we won't fight anymore. And Lex is just like, I'm gonna figure out a way to.
Well, you mean like a Killing Joke thing where it's like we could end this now, and it's like no, we're destined for this.
Or Clark just goes like, I'm not gonna do this, and he thinks like, okay, now Lex will be good, and Lex, it's the thing that sort of like then pushes Lex into becoming really who Lex is gonna be.
Yeah.
I think that could be.
Yeah, Lex says his mother's middle name is Martha.
Yeah. So. Why did you say that
name?
That's very funny. I mean, I think what they should have done is, you know, if Darkseid's being a spirit this whole time, just make it that Darkseid doesn't manifest, but a bunch of portals open and parademons come through. You don't even have to see Darkseid. But then you can keep the scene that's in that finale, which is Clark and Lex saying, like, I've accepted my fate. Every great hero needs a great villain. That's what I am. And he walks away.
Yeah, and that was it.
So it's not a fight at all. It's just like we've all accepted our positions in this like legend, right? Like
it's sort of like How I Met Your Mother, where it's like you really just should have had the end be like, and that kids is How I Met Your Mother. Just like, you know, this love story that is Lex and Clark. And you're like, all right, now we're going to be mortal enemies now. Yeah. And that's it. Cut to scene.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, yeah.
We all just got to play our parts. Michael's going to go inside of Dean, and, you know, and Chris going to go inside of Sam, and we're just going to play our parts.
Oh, this is right where this is right
Life's a show, and we all play our part.
Hell yeah, amazing. All right, let's go to the next one.
Okay,
which means we're leaving Twitter and we're heading on over to Instagram.
Somebody grab me.
Never gonna do this podcast ever again.
Use the filter, change the color.
Are you proud of what you've done here?
Oh, I'm never proud.
Yeah.
Applause.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
I was like, I was pretty good.
All right. First question comes from Ben Forrest Stewart. Lock the door.
And you see, every time Patrick Stewart.
He always does a Finding Forrester quote there. It's the weirdest movie to drop as like a pop culture reference.
I use a lot of Cougar Town references, which are also weird. But yeah, Finding Forrester might be a little bit more lacking in the zeitgeist there.
It's not even like the popular quote from the movie.
It's like that. If you ask someone to name 10 Sean Connery movies, I'm willing to bet they would never bring up Finding Forrester.
I'd be missing out, man. Just Finding Forrester, Zardoz. These are the
Zardoz.
Yeah.
All right. Ben Forrest Stewart asks. It is almost Patrick Stewart, especially when you say Stewart.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was me. I was like, "What are you doing here, Sean Connery or Patrick Stewart?" Yeah.
I've been watching literally nonstop TNG for the last 2 weeks, so it's my.
See, I've been watching a lot of American Dad, where Patrick Stewart is
there
Bullock,
you go too.
and yeah, love him.
So the next question is from Kaka when the walls fell.
Darmok and Jalad.
Darmok and Jalad.
So Ben Forrest Stewart asks, which season was the best and which was the worst?
All right, you got to pick definitives here.
Ooh. Lacretia, what do you think?
I will say, I'll just consider the first 2 seasons as one. And I know it's sacrilegious to say not the one with Jensen Ackles. And while Jensen Ackles was great, and that one episode where Lionel switched into Clark's body was pretty great. But yeah, overall, seasons 1 and 2. Oh, yeah. But yeah, it's like those 2 were good. The rest of it, eh. And yeah, I mean, some of it was just so bad. Like,
which was the worst, though, you think?
Yeah, can you pick a worst season?
To me, I'm trying to like pinpoint, because it's when they tried to, start getting Lana into more superpowers and stuff like that, whenever that was, because they really tried and failed in season 4, and then they forgot it. And then it was like, oh yeah, no, we're going to really double down on this crap. And yeah, I mean, it just never worked.
Right. I think I'm going to say season 4 is the worst, because that's the season that the first episode starts with him flying, because I think he's under the influence of black kryptonite at that point. And he's got so immediately they were like, oh, he does fly. And then it was like, it was that shit. There were like witches and stuff, which I know.
Oh yeah, that episode was so
but
bad.
At the time I was like, I thought this was Superman.
Yeah.
It was like, now, there were witches and like power stones and stuff like that. I think season 4 was like the awkward, like when if you shave your head and then you try to grow your hair back out. Season 4 was when it like looks the worst, when it's not a hairstyle yet. You haven't committed to the new look. Like, you were one way, you're about to be another way, but right now, like, stay inside. And that was season 4.
Yeah, because it's like you had Jensen and Jane Seymour, but really everything else other than that one Lionel episode was pretty bad. Like, because the witches, because again, that was part of Lana's stupid like ancestor possessing her crap that I'm like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think season 4 is the weakest. I'd say season 2 is probably the strongest.
Yeah.
I think there's a case to be made for a season 8 or a season 9 being relatively strong in its new kind of suit. You know what I mean? Like, here's some history on the Justice Society. Here's something to our sort of faux Justice League. We're in Metropolis. Like, I think there's an argument to be made that one of those later seasons is pretty good.
But not the best.
Yeah.
It's season 2.
You saying season 2 is the best one?
Yeah, come on.
Do you have a worst that's different from what
No, I mean, it's from my it's either season 4 or 5 in my opinion.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, because 5 Brainiac was good, but everything else crap. Like,
actually, that Brainiac was solid. And again,
I love me some James Marsters. Yeah,
we've talked about it already. Like, the casting in that show is solid as hell. So even when things were shaky, he's on Doom Patrol now as Silas Stone, but the guy that played Martian Manhunter, so good on Smallville.
Yeah,
absolutely, crushed it. Really liked him. I liked the guy that played Carter Hall, even though I thought his Hawkman outfit looked ridiculous.
Yeah,
there's some really, really solid casting in there. I'd say a big miss though, other than Lana, is Kara. Laura Vandervoort as Supergirl, I didn't dig it. I don't like her as Kara.
No, not at all.
I think she was much better as a villain, like as Indigo in Supergirl. That was made to me. I was like, Supergirl is very much like Clark in the way that there is sort of this innocence and a little bit, arrogant somewhat. And you're like, I didn't really get that. Laura's much better villain.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. All right, let's go to the next question from DJ Mal Brooks, who asks, not entirely superhero related, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on the whole Allison Mack and sex trafficking cult scandal. Oof.
Yeah. Which apparently was not concurrent. Like, apparently this was post Smallville.
Oh, was
this
it?
happened.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
Well,
I was reading up a little bit.
That's good, I guess.
Well, I think it was concurrent, but or wasn't concurrent like you say, but Kristen Couric was in it during Smallville because she was the one who introduced Allison to that guy. And that was what I always thought was weird, that like it was a part of the news and then they didn't really she was like, oh no, I wasn't involved with all that, and then they just dropped it. And I was like, that's kind of a weird thing to be brought up like initially with the news, that she was the one who introduced her to like the cult leader, and then like everybody dropped it because she just said, well, here's the thing is, I can say I don't know someone and wasn't involved with something, but it's probably not true. I mean, I thought that was really weird. It's like, this was all after, but I know that Michael said on his podcast that Allison Mack was one of those people that was kind of always into like new age stuff. And those are sadly the people that get involved. And whether, she became part of the problem herself, initially she was the victim. And I think that's where some people forget that it's like, this is sad. Like,
yeah, because the setup of the cult was that it was some sort of self-help kind of thing. Yeah. And then like a Tony Robbins this sort of like inner circle sub-level, which was like women getting branded and being like
they did this on General Hospital.
And like they had to, I read a thing where it's like to join either the inner circle or something, you had to like give something like ruinous, or you basically had to provide your own blackmail material to the cult. And like, oh
yeah, they did that verbatim on General Hospital. It was hysterical. Like it was it was like, okay, yeah, they basically just took the headline of like, and apparently like Scientology and some of the other things, the inner circle is like that as well. But to me, it is sad that it's like, okay, yeah, you just provide your own blackmail material, have sex with the leader, get branded. Like this is a thing.
Yeah, and then basically Allison Mack sort of quote unquote rose to the level of recruiting new people into this cult. And then when the whole
it's like a pyramid scheme.
And then like she pled guilty, she's in prison and all that kind of stuff.
She's talk about the secret world of Allison Mack.
Yeah. I never understood why Allison Mack didn't do better with her acting career since she was so good at branding.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
wow.
Good Lord. Oh, those were
that's nice.
All right, let's go to the next question, which means Instagram. We're heading on over to email.
Somebody
jump out the window.
Wait, you officially Seth MacFarlane the joke. You've done it more than 3 times.
The rule of comedy is to just keep doing it, right?
Yeah, the Seth MacFarlane rule of comedy.
All right. Our email comes from Heather, who asks, I have a memory of the costumes being pretty cheap looking. What do you think? Any good or bad costumes come to mind? I mean, the Aquaman one.
I think the Cyborg one is my favorite.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite bad ones, because it's literally a sweatshirt and you're just supposed to assume it's cybernetics. I think that one's way up there for me. I feel bad sometimes making fun of this one, but Dr. Fate, the guy they cast just was so out of shape, like almost like David Ogden Stiers in that Justice League pilot, like where he's Martian Manhunter with the huge gut. Like that Dr. Fate was just like so out of shape. And then when he finally gets killed, you're like, well, yeah.
Like he couldn't outrun them.
Yeah. What about you, Lacretia? Good or bad costumes that stand out in your mind?
I will say, like, the Green Arrow one did look like some toys that I had as a kid, like the little arrow outfit that you put on. So nostalgia-wise, fun, but big budget TV series, one would assume not so fun because, I'm like, I could buy that at Toys R Us. Right. And that was a lot of their costuming, because even Zatanna, while it's like that is just a fun little magic outfit, like, could we at least make it look a little bit more, streamlined than just literally a costume off the rack? I mean,
right.
it's like Spirit Halloween was their costume design.
Yeah. I think one of the best costumes on the show was Booster Gold. Booster Gold shows up at whatever season it is, season 7 or something like that. And his costume is slick. It looks armored. It looks a little futuristic. It's got the like Captain Amazing like branding kind of thing, which is very funny. They've turned Skeets into like a earpiece kind of thing. So he didn't have the flying robot buddy, but like I think the Booster Gold costume is like one of the better ones on that show. It's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you have good or bad ones that stand out?
No,
Richard?
I mean, I think that like whatever they did with Aquaman was always bad.
Right. You didn't like the orange zip up.
No, I wasn't a fan of that.
Yeah.
Again, it really reminds me of what they did with like the boys.
Yeah. The Deep is a fun character.
Yeah.
It feels like they're specifically like commenting on that Aquaman.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I think I'd agree with you with the Booster Gold for sure.
I will say for Clark, I hated the black long jacket. This isn't the fucking Matrix.
God, I know. It's so bad.
It's like, that's a Zod outfit. That's what Zod would wear.
That being said, I did totally buy a
I know Kung Fu.
Of course you did.
Who didn't?
I was in it to win it. All right, let's move on.
Okay.
All right. We're leaving email and heading over to Reddit. You got nothing?
Somebody ran.
Yeah.
I love how you were waiting for him.
Well, I know. I figured, yeah.
Suckered you in.
Yeah, you son of a bitch. First question comes from Dante's Fire, who asks, oh, God, it's a long question. Okay. At what point do you think Clark should have put on a super suit, flown properly, moved to Metropolis, renamed the show to Metropolis, thereby bypassing the Smallville no flight, no tights rule, and that he didn't want to fly used to bother me because unless you're scared of heights, what goober doesn't want to fly? What I wish we had gotten was a scene similar to the one in the Superman the Animated Series where he's a teen and he jumps over a creek and discovers he's floating. When he lands, he does it again, whooping it up.
So this is a slightly different version of a previous question. So we know that Smallville changed philosophies partway through. But if you were show running and you had to say, here is a spot in the show where we should really just give him the suit and call him Superman, but otherwise plot-wise the show remains intact, where would you say that is? Where in the show do you think he really should have become Superman?
I don't know. I definitely don't agree with changing the name because like Cougar Town didn't even change their name. So why would Smallville? And, he was always still Smallville to Lois. So like it was a cute little cheeky thing. But yeah, like where he could have become Superman, to me, it almost makes sense for him to finish college. Like they may have, should have done a time jump. Those things often do work if done properly. Because he is a journalist and I like accuracy, I prefer to see him graduate and get his degree and all that just because, I'm a stickler for people coming into a position that aren't qualified, But yeah, like, he could after college. So maybe what was that? Like season 7 or 8, he could have really become Superman because as much as we'd like it to be earlier, because they start him out so young, it's kind of like, would you really want someone with those powers really going out in the world like that and getting all this ego, being in the paper if he's not 25 or something? Like, yeah. I mean, the kids did raise him right, but still.
Yeah.
I just wish it didn't jump to Metropolis so quickly. Like, I wish that it was... like it kept him small town for as long as possible, because if the idea,
like he starts working at like, or he maybe instead of going to college or whatever, he's a stringer in the Smallville paper. Sure, but he works his way up, and then Metropolis or the Daily Planet buys their paper.
Yeah,
and then
that's fine.
Yeah, that worked.
that totally works. Or just like do more college, like get us more in college stuff. Do the high school thing in the college. That's fine. But it feels like they just immediately are like, and he's also working at Metropolis or something. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, for me, I wish that it had kept it Smallville as long as possible. Like, I get that you can't keep him in high school for more than 4 years, but like do the college thing then and be more about the college.
Yeah.
For me, if you were going to put it in, like, I'm fine with the tights being at the end, but I'm also like, that should have been the end. Like, it should have been like he goes to college, he graduates, and then maybe he gets like a year into Metropolis and like into the Daily Planet, and then he's Superman, the show's done. I just feel like it overstayed its welcome a little bit.
I think, I mean, you're right. I think I agree with Lacretia that the show is pretty unchanged if he's just publicly Superman as of like season 8.
Yeah.
Don't think it really affects anything. You know, like he's in Metropolis, he's working full time. He's got basically a Justice League. Yeah. He's learned like the secret history of the DC universe with the society Superman and everything. Just make him Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to the last question.
Okay.
From StarRec92, who asks, how awkward is it that Jor-El taught Clark how to use his super boning ability? What?
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't see Jor-El teach this, but there's a scene in like season 9. There's some double date that goes wrong with Chloe and Oliver and Clark and Lois. And at some point, Chloe says something like, you took Lois on a romantic weekend? I seem to remember you being concerned about like the bed part of a bed and breakfast. Blah, blah, blah. And Clark has to be like, Jor-El's training has helped me gain control. He basically has to stop.
I have to go watch this.
He has to stop just short of saying, my dad taught me how to fuck.
And I would just think, just looking at John Snyder as Jonathan Kent, like, wouldn't he have taught him a little more? I mean, I get he's not Kryptonian, but look at that man. He's very attractive. I feel like he could have taught Clark a few things.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, look at that man. He could cause some damage.
Well, no, I wouldn't have gotten that bad, but God. But yeah, it's like, it's awkward as it is, but it's like, okay, he had 2 dads. But
yeah, I mean, you kind of feel bad for Clark that he's like all of these sort of what we consider like formative, like high school, college experiences. And he's like, no, I can't. And then one day he's just like, oh, I've been learning how to punch. And like, it's clear Jor-El didn't say like, and now try it with your dick. Like Clark like, I wonder if this lesson applies to.
Yeah, and I just go back to that scene in Mallrats and how obsessed Brody is with these types of things. And I agree. I mean, because that's what made me always curious. And I used to just like yell alien sex, like when doing Supergirl panels and things like that. Because that's funny. That's why I like Jessica Jones and Luke Cage's scene, because it's like, okay, finally we're letting people have superhero sex, because that is funny. I mean, that's the reason that movie like Hancock is really funny, is because they lean into that. And what I liked about Smallville, because this was pre like the CW being, really into these sex scenes, it was more innocent. Because they tried to, the most unbelievable thing on the show, other than all the superhero crap, of course, but still probably less believable, was Lana Lang was a virgin until like season 4 or whatever. I was like, my mom literally refers to the character as that pretty's Lana Lang.
You don't get that popular.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
but the Clark, like, growing into that stuff was really funny. And I kind of like that they nodded to it.
Yeah, I mean, we laugh about that in like that reference in the Green Arrow and like Black Canary comics where they have sex and she blows out the windows in the neighborhood. Like that is funny stuff. But it's like a weird, awkward scene in season 9 where Clark has to be like, my space dad taught me how.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I'm gonna go find that because I'm like, whoa, I don't remember this.
Well, that was the last question. But before we go, we have to play everyone's favorite game, which is called Can You Guess the Name of the Character Based on How Someone Who Doesn't Read Comic Books Can Describe That Character to Us.
Well,
we're great at titles.
Yeah.
It's very long.
So if you haven't played this before, the rough idea is that I send a photo of a DC character to my wife who does not care about comic books nor this podcast. And she sends me 4 clues from what she thinks of when she looks at this character.
And I haven't seen this, so this is for you and I to play, Lacretia. You can guess as many times as you want. You can wait for more clues if you want, but it's just literally only to see if we can figure it out. It's not too precious on the rules.
Yes, not at all. My only rule is that for this one specifically, the doctor can't guess until the end.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh, okay.
But Lacretia, you can guess as many times as you want throughout it.
Okay.
So the first clue. First clue. This character did not sing La Bamba.
So it's not Lou Diamond Phillips. Okay, we got that one down.
Okay.
All right. The second clue. King Diamond wannabe.
Okay.
Do you not know who it is yet?
I'm thinking. Lacretia, do you have a guess or do you want another clue?
I want another clue because I have no clue.
Yeah.
Okay. The next clue. Leather on leather, my kind of outfit.
Okay.
Do you not know who it is yet?
I feel like I'm getting closer, but I could also be way off.
Okay, that makes me excited.
Yeah. Lacretia?
I have no idea.
All
Okay, the last clue.
Last clue.
Looks greasy and cranky, but takes their hair game seriously.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I know who this is.
Lacretia, do you have any idea?
I would guess maybe Lobo because
You
I'm
are
like,
correct.
okay,
Yeah,
so it's
Lobo,
like
baby.
the greasy. I was like the hair game. I was like, oh, Lobo, because Lobo has the best hair in the DC universe.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's Lobo and then Starfire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
Amazing. Well done. Good guess.
I was worried you'd get it too quickly.
I was thinking it was Lobo, but like I've had it happen before where I've been like way too confident about something and I've been like crazy far off. So no, that's awesome.
The reason why, because so my wife originally put the did not sing La Bamba as the last question, being like, because she, in her opinion, that was the easiest one.
That was the one that would give it away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking, and she's like,
What?
well, technically, like the original singer is by Los Lobos, and it was covered by Richie Valens, and I'm like, Jesus Christ!
I mean, that's
I
great
didn't know that
music
deep
knowledge,
dive.
Yeah, I never would have thought. I never would have thought.
She was just like, "What? Like, isn't that general knowledge?" And I'm like, "No, it's not general knowledge."
General knowledge?
Yeah, I mean, us shitting on what is not general knowledge while simultaneously trying to guess a comic book character is kind of funny. Yeah,
that's very true. All right. Well, Lacretia, thank you so much for coming on again.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I'm always down to talk DC melodrama with you.
Heck yeah.
This was a ton of fun. Yeah, we'll have to do this again with something equally wacky, like 90s Flash or something.
Oh, I love 90s Flash because I have a story about John Wesley Shipp hitting on my dad, and it was hilarious.
Okay, we have to save it because we actually
Yeah.
Well, this episode is definitely going to happen then.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we're currently in end times, but do you have things to promote? I know you have a podcast, or at least a multitude of podcasts now. Promote your stuff and where people can find you.
Well, since I'm Lacretia Lyon, guys, you can always find me at LACRETIALYON anywhere on the internet, since there is only one. And right now, Mrs. Brightside is on hiatus till I figure out what I want to do with it, but Believe in Soap Operas is on there. So yeah, I talk a lot about the daytime soap operas, which a lot of those people have been on Smallville. So it's kind of connected, or they are in the Arrowverse as well. And then I also do Forever in a Day, which is a Audible soap opera. Well, not on Audible yet, but it's on all the other podcasting platforms. But yeah, it's an audio drama. So soaps have kind of gone back to the way they began on the radio. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Oh, I love that.
That's really cool.
I know. I'm like, it is fun to see that. I was like, I had made a joke about they really need to go back to doing that since people, we've been in this quarantine for so long. But thankfully, the soap actors were like, fuck it, we're getting back to work. They're just really doing it. But I think these audio dramas are really coming around. I mean, the Sandman one on the Audible is crazy.
Yeah, it's really good.
I haven't listened to that yet. I got to get on that.
It's wild. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much again. And we will definitely have you on soon.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Lacretia.
Bye.
Bye.
They always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure. They are men of might.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.